Kilo Echo 8 Papa Zulu November, the ham radio adventure guy. It is Hump Day. That means it's time for the Hump Day happy hour. And we're going to have a great show. And I guarantee you it's better than the solar index.
Yeah, that is very true.
What's going on, everybody?
Happy Splash Day!
Yay,
Splash Day. Well, you know what? We're going to talk about Splash Day right here in a second. Just as soon as we give a shout out to the awesome Patreons who keep us going, they keep us in gas, they keep us with all kinds of cool food that makes me fat, a little too fat sometimes, but shout out to these guys because they rock. And then we're going to swip over here and give a shout out to the new updated adventure board with Bruce sliding into the number 4 spot. From out of nowhere, he wasn't even on the board last week, and now he's in number 4. So shout out for the big off-stream donation. Also shout out to Kent, Kilo 9 Alpha Echo for the off-stream donation. It did put you on the board until Bruce hit his and knocked you right back off there, Kent. So we still give you a shout out. But it's Splash Day, Hayden. What is Splash Day?
Well, after all the hard work that you do on a boat over your winter, Splash Day is when you drop the boat in the water.
Got her wet.
And if you missed it, me and Dan did a live stream this morning and videoed the whole process. Pretty interesting. I'd never seen it before, and I'm not sure if Dan's ever seen anything like that or not either, but
I have not.
It was filled with lots of interesting facts and lots of nice views of my marina that we have here, and it was a good time.
But is the radio hooked up yet?
The antenna will be tomorrow. It does have a radio hook to it. It's a VHF marine radio by Yason.
That's even better.
Built-in GPS.
Well,
when I sink, all I have to do is push a button, and the Coast Guard comes and rescues me.
Well, let's make sure you don't sink. Not at least until I get an activation in on it.
Absolutely.
It's not a real boat until it's got the king
until it's a royal yacht.
Right.
I agree.
A royal yacht.
So, if I do an activation on there, it would definitely be a royal yacht. If Robbie came and did an activation with you, it would end up being a royal flush.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, funny stuff.
He could chum the water.
So we're gonna talk a little bit of Pota tonight. Oh Lord! Remember, Dan, this is not shenanigans. This is the happy hour, and we're all happy to be here because our band conditions are so wonderful right now.
Yes, fabulous.
I did 5 parks today and have under 200 contacts, so that is just absolutely amazing. But you know what? Doing 5 parks in bad band conditions is better than a great day at work any day. So we'll take it.
Can't argue with that.
And it's 5 completed activations because knock on wood, I don't not complete an activation, and we're going to cover some of that tonight. We're going to talk about Pota, and we're going to be more on the beginners level tonight. This episode is so you want a Pota, now what? And we're going to cover some tips and tricks for activating, some tips and tricks for hunting, and hopefully answer some questions. But we got a bunch of pros in the chat tonight, so I don't know if we even get any questions. They might just say, "Man, you guys are boring me tonight." And you know what? If we are boring you, go ahead and send a big super chat and tell me you're bored, and I will acknowledge that you're bored, and maybe we'll make Hayden dance or something. But
maybe we'll tell some dad jokes.
No, we will not, however, be telling no dad jokes. All right, so
here we go.
Very nice.
Crinkle said, I guess I'm saying that right, did his first activation today.
There
Congratulations.
There we go. Hope I'm going to say that for it to be your first activation, it's not normally that painful. I know the bands were really bad today. I don't know what time of the day you did it, but uh, I heard super early this morning wasn't bad. And the last one I did before the stream was okayish. But anything after 10 o'clock till 5ish was just nasty.
Put your stats in the chat on your activations. I'm kind of curious about how you did today and how many contacts, how long it took.
All right, so what y'all think? You want to start with hunting or you want to start with activating?
Well, the natural progression is to start hunting first.
All right, so before we start with hunting, the first thing you should do if you want a Pota and you're starting to do Pota is you should go over to the Pota page and read the rules, the regulations, and all the help questions, because that may answer your questions right off the bat. The second thing you should do if you want to do Pota is you should come over and join my Discord, because if you're not in my Discord, you're missing all the chances to answer any of the Pota questions you may have and any questions you may have about radio, because we got a bunch of killer people over there, and they can help you with about anything you want. So it is absolutely 100% free to join Discord, and you get in on secret activations and everything over there. So I know Dan put the link in there earlier, and it is also in the description of the video. So go check out Discord. That should be the second thing. All right, Dan, I'm going to let you take it over with the hunting spectrum.
The first thing you should do, like you said, is go to Pota, read the rules and regs about what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Make an account. That way you can track your progress. You can see your stats. You can see your awards and everything else. Even if you don't have an account, your awards are still there. So if you started hunting and then a month later you say, I'm going to make an account, the awards that you got while you didn't have an account are still going to be there. So they'll be there waiting for you when you make your account, which is nice. So make your account and load the spot page. Go whatever band that you want to hunt on and see what you can hear and give the activator a call. Hunting is the easiest of the two between hunting and activating, for sure. You can do it from the comfort of your own home in the air conditioning. You don't have to get out and go get sweaty and everything else. So just work all the stations you can hear, and don't be afraid to work them over and over and over again. A lot of people say, well, I've already worked that activator once today, and he's at a different park now, or maybe even a different band. And I don't want to bother him and work him again. That's farther from the truth. They want you to call. If they change bands, call them back again, because it's a new contract. It's a new contact for them, and it's a new contact for you. So
absolutely,
just get out there and do it and have fun is the biggest part.
So what about these big massive pileups, Dan? How do I break them? Like I'm hearing this pileup, and like there's like 400 people yelling at this guy, and he don't hear me. What do I do?
Listen to the activator. The biggest thing about getting into any kind of pileup or even calling is listen. That's the number one thing. Listen, and figure out what the activator's doing. So he might be working calls that he hears first, or he might be working the suffixes of calls that he hears towards the end of the pileup, and just figure out what kind of pattern the activator has and go from there. So if he's working more end of the pileup, try to hold off on sending your call sign and send it out towards the end, and maybe he'll be able to pick up a couple letters of your call sign and get you in there. It's not about power. It's not about having the loudest station on the block. It's more about your timing. So Terry.
Yeah, and that becomes a problem, Terry, when people like you do that, because just today I was trying to work a park to park, and I was really struggling to get the guy's park number. And every time I'd say, "Can you give me that park number again?" I would hear Kilo 8 Golf Quebec, Kilo 8 Golf Quebec.
I was working a guy in Colorado earlier, and probably about a half an hour before the stream here. And the activator was talking to a hunter, and I couldn't hear the hunter, but he was talking to a hunter, and then somebody else would just call right over the top of him with their call sign. It was obviously that guy couldn't hear the activator either, because the activator was talking at the same time the guy was talking to this other hunter. So first of all, if you can't hear the activator, don't call him, because you're not going to be able to hear him come back to you.
And at that point, you're just interfering.
Yep.
You know, I've talked to a lot of activators about this, and you know, just because we can hear you, don't mean you can hear us, and I get that. But if you can't hear us, you shouldn't be calling us, because, for example, today the bands were horrible, and I had somebody calling me and calling me and calling me, and I would stop hunting people who could have probably heard me, that I might be losing the contact with, because the band might change and they might not be able to hear me in a second, and I'd call you, and it was a New Jersey station, and I'd call them and they wouldn't answer me back. I'd call them back again and they wouldn't answer me back. I'd call people 4 times, and the 4th time I normally say, "This is the last try for," and they didn't call me back. And then I worked 2 more people, and they're back in there calling me again.
Yep.
And you know, you're if you can't hear me when I'm calling the stations, you're not going to hear me give you a signal report either. So you're not going to get in the log. So you got to make sure that you can hear the activator, and pay attention to the activator, because, you know, I can't tell you how many times I like to run a big fast pile up. I like to run it efficiently and get it knocked out. And sometimes I'll get mad at hunters because I think they're not paying attention, and it's not them not paying attention. It's other hunters not paying attention, because I'll say, Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha November, you're 5'9", and Dan don't hear me because Hayden's right over top of me when I'm saying that, saying Kilo Bravo 3, Golf Radio Golf, and that's all Dan heard was Hayden. He didn't hear me. So then I say, Whiskey Delta 4, Delta Alpha November, 5'9". You know, I'm getting hateful with him now because he's not paying attention, and he's like, "Oh, somebody stepped on you, James. I'm sorry." You know, I've done jumped Dan for not coming back. You know, he's slowing down my pile up, but it wasn't even Dan at all. You know,
most of the time when that happens to me, my response will be, "You're 5'9" in the clear." So I add "in the clear," which means I didn't hear you the first time because somebody else was over the top of you.
Right.
I got a tip.
Go ahead, Hayden.
I got a tip for breaking pileups, and I know this works with your pileups sometimes, James. The more you work the person, the more they get used to your voice and the way you call your call sign, the more success you'll have in breaking those pileups. If you say your call sign the same time every time, that helps.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, you got to be consistent with an activator. You don't want to mess around and change your voice, or, you know, change something in your setup and make that activator not get used to that voice, because that, back where Dan was saying, it doesn't matter power, it doesn't matter, it matters timing. Timing is key, but also for me, tone is key. I can pick out your tone even when I cannot hear a single letter out of your call sign or a number. I don't have to hear nothing. I can hear your tone, and I'll throw your call sign back out. And, you know, I'll throw it out back up. If I heard that tone, let's say I'm on a late shift pileup, and I normally try to pick out like 6 or 7 right off the bat. I'll listen to it and I'll pick out 6 or 7 in my head. But if I hear one of them that was just a tone, they were probably a 3-3, and I heard their tone in there, I'll throw that tone call sign out there, and everybody will hopefully hush, and I can hear them come back to me.
I got a QSO the other day to a guy in Arizona during the middle of the day, and the band conditions were horrible. And he said, it's a guy that I've worked like 40 or 50 times. And he says, "I know it's you. All I heard was the Alpha November." And then he gave me back my full call sign, and he goes, "Is that you?" And I said, "Roger, Roger, Roger, Roger." And he gave me like a 2-1, but we got the call sign done because he was familiar with my voice and the way I say my call sign. So.
And I mean, it's also the same way with CW. You get used to, they call it the fist, but you get used to the fist, which is basically the tone of how and the pattern of the way you send. And I'll tell you somebody who's really, really consistent at that. And I've picked him out without hearing a single letter of his call sign before. I just heard like a little rhythm. That's all I could hear. And that's Kilo Oscar 4 November Lima Lima. He's very consistent at sending his call sign. And he's probably falling over dead right now because he's like, what? But he is. I can pick Eddie's call sign out pretty good if I can hear him sending it.
Yep.
And it's really cool when you get people like that. Another really consistent CW caller is November 3 X-Ray Lima Sierra. I can pick him out pretty well as well. Dan sends fairly consistent, but I have problems because Dan's radio does this weird thing where it changes his tone. He always calls from the same place, but when he goes to 40 meters, it'll change his tone, and then I get lost and can't hear him. So, well, go ahead, continue, Dan.
That's about it. Consistency and timing is basically the keys, and above all, have fun. If it turns into a chore, you're not having fun doing it. I mean, step away from the radio for a while and go do something else. You know, I mean, it's supposed to be a fun activity. And Eddie, thank you much, buddy. And just have fun doing it. But consistency and timing are the keys to breaking pileups and having success doing it.
And in the chat, Ed added a good one: is patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It takes time to get through those pileups sometimes.
Yeah, and it takes time too. When you're first starting out as a hunter, I mean, you'll get a lot of awards very quickly because they'll stack on top of each other. You're like, man, it's cool. The more and more you get into it, the awards come slower and slower and slower because it just takes longer to get to those tiers. And so don't get discouraged by that or anything. Just, work at your own pace. If you want to hunt 5 or 10 people a day or one a day or one a week, just do what you want to do in ham radio, not what somebody else says that they think you should be doing, right?
That's absolutely right. Do Pota the way you do Pota. Do it your way, but just make sure you're doing it respectful and right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the super chat, Eddie. And I just seen Eric in the chat, and Eric is one that can tell you about people calling blind.
Yeah,
I've had conversations with Eric before, and being in Hawaii, everybody was calling Eric blind at one point or another, and but he would tell me about this one person that would call him and call him and call him, and then he'd call that person back like 20 times, and they'd never answer, but they just keep constantly calling him, and you're wasting your time and you're knocking other hunters out. So make sure you can hear the activator. That's
my number one pet peeve is calling in the blind because there's a 90% chance the activator is going to hear me. But if I can't hear the activator, it's not worth it. You still can't get the QSO. And it just wastes the activator's time. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's many ways that you can go. If you can't hear somebody, remote into a station somewhere. If you don't have access to a remote in, use a web SDR. You're hunting. There's nothing illegal about using the web SDR to hear the activator, because as long as your activator can hear you, you're fine.
Right.
But make sure you can hear him in some way, and don't just call blind. So Dan, I got this favorite activator, and he activates a whole lot, and he's really, really, really busy, man. He's always busy. He's always doing parks, and I know he's got no time for anything extra. But I made this QSO with him, and I forgot to log my QSO, and he requested a confirmation for me. So I should just email him, right?
If you need it that bad, I mean, I don't really. If you've had 1,000 contacts with him whatsoever, the county's already been confirmed.
That's the only way to figure it out, right?
No, you can look at your hunter log on Pota. Because he logged you.
I could go to my Pota log and do that.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's no reason in him getting like 50 or 60 emails a day, because
as long as an activator logs you, you can go to your hunter log on Pota and see every QSO you have ever made.
Oh, well, that's pretty good, because he always turns in his logs. That's an excellent tip.
Yeah. And it's also good to see if you had a questionable contact if the activator logged you, because sometimes it can get sketchy with a lot of QSB, and you're getting 2 1s and 1 by 1, signal reports. You're not quite sure if you made that QSO or not. And in a couple of days, you can check your hunter log and see if they did copy you correctly.
So, and I'm not gonna speak for every activator, but I will speak for myself. And if the QSB is bad, and there was a questionable call, I heard Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha really good, but was that November he sent, or was that Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha Delta? And I think it was Delta, so I'm gonna put down Delta. Well, that don't show up nobody. I wonder what it was. Oh wait, Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha November respotted me about that time. So let me just correct that. I know who it is now. If you respot an activator and there was a question in there, and he had any kind of question, he's gonna fix that for you. And that saved me a couple of times on CW, because I'd hear one letter just off a little bit, and maybe I didn't even hear it off. Maybe they sent it off a little bit, because I get a lot of newer CW hunters to hunt me, because everybody wants to get in my logs and they're trying CW now and stuff. So it's not necessarily that I heard it wrong. They may have just sent it a little bit wrong, and a lot of things sound a lot alike, but.
And don't be afraid. I mean, even if the activator is slam packed with a huge pile up and they're busy, they want to get you in the log just as bad as you want to get in their log, and they want it to be accurate. So even if they're slammed with a big pile up, if you think they said your call sign wrong, say your call sign back to them. Make sure they got it right, especially on CW. If they don't send your call sign back to you right, send your call sign again.
Yeah.
If I don't think you have my call sign right on both CW or voice, I won't give you a signal report until I think you have it right. And then we can exchange the QSO. But don't be afraid to, say your call sign again, just to make sure the activator has it right.
Absolutely.
You're not going to annoy them at all. So.
Especially in CW, because I'll tell you, I'm new at that, but that doesn't stop the pileups from coming when I spot. They still come in hard. And if I hear something really clear come through, and I heard the whole call sign, and I send it back, but I missed one letter because I didn't hear a dit or a da, you can, when I send that letter back, if and I send 5 in West Virginia, and you send back a signal report, guess
right.
what? That's what got logged, not your true call sign. So
that actually happens to me a lot in CW, even with experienced operators. I think it's happened with Bill Brown a couple of times. He'll just add another dit, accidentally, and he'll put like Whiskey Bravo 4 Delta Alpha November. That's just one more dit, but it's not right. So I send my call sign again, and they're like, Roger. Then they send me back the correct call sign. So okay, so it was just a messed up dit, but I just want to make absolutely sure you got it right. So
and it's so simple to make that mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Your hand can slip. I mean, your hand can be sweaty and slip. There's times that I normally like when I slip when I'm doing like sending West Virginia or something like that. That it doesn't matter as much. But I slip a lot, and I'll throw an extra dit in, or I'll miss a dit, and it happens. And sometimes if I think it's somebody that don't know that I'm calling them back right, I'll go ahead and start over and resend it. But if it's somebody that I've hunted a lot, I just keep going, and they know I've got them. But if you feel like maybe I didn't have you're going to want to send that call sign back.
That's the same way I do. If I've hunted the activator on CW, 20 times or more, and they throw in an extra dit for my call sign, I know they got me. But if it's a new activator that I haven't hunted before, I want to make sure that they got my call sign correct.
Absolutely. All right. So is that all you got for the hunting?
It's basically the easiest part of the duo. It takes both hunters and activators to play the game, and one can't survive without the other. So it's kind of like we feed on each other,
Well, one more thing I'd like to add, and you can touch on it a lot better than I can, but you may want to mention once you start hunting a little bit and getting a little more into it, what's this Pota Plus thing?
Pota Plus is an application a what's his name? David Westbrook, I believe it was. It's a Chrome extension. It also works in Edge because Edge is based on Chrome, and it gives you a lot of insights about parks that you've hunted, how many times that you've hunted an activator. You can make it do rig control, where you push a button, it'll change your radio. It can log for you. It can respot. It's a plethora of things, and I can't hunt without it because it just makes my life so much easier and so much faster.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, if I was a hunter, I would definitely be using Pota Plus because I see a lot of advantages with that.
Definitely.
All right, so I guess we're going to move on to activating now, and activating would definitely be the harder of the two. But like what Dan said, you can't be an activator without the hunter. So you got to have the hunters, and the hunters are just as important as the activators. Now with hunting, you need to do your research a little bit more. You can't, like Dan. If Dan needs to hunt Big Ugly wildlife management area, all Dan needs to know is I need to hunt Kilo 7047. So if that comes up, I need to hunt it. But if I'm going to activate Kilo 7047, there's a lot more to that because one, I got to know how to get there. It's a wildlife management area in the middle of nowhere. And how do I know I'm in the right place? You got to do your research on a lot of parks. If you're going to a state park, piece of cake. Just put in Google, Chief Logan State Park, and it'll drive you right there, and you're good to go to get there. But there's wildlife management areas and stuff like that these maps will not get you to. And sometimes it's good to do your research on that. Research is very important when you're activating, especially when doing roves and stuff like that, where you're in a hurry. When I was down in Florida, we were doing a bunch of parks, and we put in at the park we were going to in the GPS, and it starts taking us. I kind of knew it was getting us lost because it starts taking us through these little subdivisions, and anytime you start going through the subdivisions, it's probably taking you like on the back side of something, and it's not the right way in. But we keep going, and we finally get to a gate, and the gate has no trespassing all over it. And then there's a sign. It says, "Stop. You are not in," and it said the name of the wildlife management area. Turn around and go back.
That's funny. So they must have had enough people make that mistake.
So now this was a nice metal sign that this guy had made. So how many people has drove through this guy's driveway to get him to spend the money to make a nice metal sign? So I mean, you definitely want to do your research on where you're going and stuff like that. For example, the park that I was talking about, Big Ugly. When I'm out roving, I will do Big Ugly along with Upper Mud River Wildlife Management Area. And when I was down in Florida, Reed come by and did all my eagle parks, and it took from when he activated Upper Mud River to the time he got to Big Ugly, it took him like over an hour and a half. It from the way I do it, it's a 10-minute drive. And it's all about research. And I'm not saying Reed researched it right. I happen to know the area very well there, and it helps out too. But I know an old logging road that goes right over the mountain, and it turns it into a 10-minute drive. But you can find that road by using mapping software and stuff like that. So it's always important to map out your route and stuff like that. Number 2, make you a checklist when you're new. And even if you're old, sometimes I'm sure that some of the older activators get to the park sometimes and be like, "Wait, where's my coax?"
It's on the fence at the last park.
Exactly, and that's what I was reading into. Maybe I should have had a checklist of what to put back in the car, because here I'm in Florida doing a rove, and I've loaded everything up, but I had rolled my coax up and set it on the fence post there while I was taking down the antenna, and I load everything up, and I go to the next park, and I have to hike out to where I activate at, and I set up an in-fed half wave, and I get the in-fed half wave. I was like, "Where's my coax?" And then it dawned on me exactly where my coax was. So I have to tear all this stuff down, hike back to the car, go back to the park I started at before, and get that coax. And luckily, it was still there. So, a checklist is very important, and you don't want just okay. So what do you need to do a Pota activation? You're going to need a radio. You're going to need some sort of power. You're going to need an antenna, and you're going to need coax, and you're going to need some way to log it. That could be paper if you're crazy. No offense to anybody that uses paper logs, but I can't do paper because number one, I write like a doctor, and number two, there you go. Don't forget if a part bring you a jar. There you go. But it's a lot of work to write them all down on paper and then get home and then add them into your logging software that's in the Pota. So for me, it is a lot. And people are under this bad misconception that you have to be able to type really, really fast. You got to be an excellent typer to type fast enough to do Pota. And I'm here to tell you that is incorrect. Because nobody can run a pileup faster than I can. And I promise you, I type with this finger right here. Like this right here. Just like this. That's how I do it.
It's called hunting and pecking.
And yeah, you're like, there's no way you run the pileups you run and you do that. But I have developed some skills in my lifetime. And I've even though I have a bad short-term memory, I have good memory when it comes to something that I've put my time into, aka people's tones, aka remembering people's call signs. There are times when I've just went through 7 names and I've got the first 2 typed in, and I'm still calling for more calls because I will eventually catch up because somebody will ask me a dumb question. But you don't have to be a speed typer to do it. It just takes a little bit of practice, and it's not that hard. I'm not normally 4 or 5 calls behind, but there's been times I have been, especially when I get something like Kilo November 4, Victor Kilo Yankee, 5-9 from all 4. The next call Alpha Delta 2 Charlie Delta, 5-9 for both of us. And these guys are doing that so I can keep my pile up going. But now I've got 6 calls I got to type in too. And I can't stop my pile up to type them in. Yes, some people can, and if that's the way you got to do it, that's fine. If you got to say, guys, let me slow down here, my logs are behind. And I've worked with plenty of people to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, type one finger with the left hand. I can also type with my left hand. I can do either hand. I can, believe it or not, I can send CW left-handed because I've tried it. It feels weird, but I can, and I don't plan on doing it. But if need be, in case, just like any good marksman, if you shoot me in the right arm, I can still shoot my pistol left-handed. So if I'm out in the park doing a CW activation and you shoot me in the right arm, I'm going to wrap my belt around my arm and I'm going to finish that activation because I've only got 8 and I got to get 10. So I'm going to finish it left-handed.
Eric just brought up a good point. The activator controls the pace.
Absolutely.
So if the pileup's going too fast, slow it down. It's your pile.
There's been times when I need I'm backed up 10 calls and I've got to get them in. And Dan goes, Whiskey Delta 4 Delta Alpha November, you're 5-9. I was like, oh, that's cool, Dan. Hey, Dan, you remember the other day when you called me? What park were you in? Do you remember? And I'm slowing it down and I'm doing whatever I need to do. And then I was like, okay, thanks a lot. This is Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November QRZ. And right there's me calling my call slower, and I'm slowing things down.
And if to feed in on that a little bit, you as the activator control the pileup, but if you don't, the pileup will control you.
You have to take charge of them, absolutely, because they will absolutely run over you. You know, hunters are great people, and they got a lot of respect for activators, but they don't have enough respect to respect the activator if they think it's going to cost them one park. They'll run over you for a park. They'll run flat over you. You know, you say I'm taking 5 more calls, and there's 20 people in there. They're pulling knives and guns. I mean, it's a fight. So, but you control the pileup, and there's activators that will go so slow, and that's their style, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's activators that will rag you every single contact, and that's what they enjoy about Pota. So, you know, that's their Pota. They control it the way they want, you know. But I'm an efficient person. I like to bust them through, and I like to go to more parks and get more contacts. So, but that's the way I like to do things because I'm competitive with myself. All right, so we covered what we need, but what we didn't cover is all the stuff that we might need. How many times have you got out into the park and you got there and a deer run through your coax, and now you're needing another piece of coax? Maybe you should have some more coax in your car. Maybe you should have some extra connectors because that extra coax you brought has don't have a 239 on it. It's got a different connector on it. You might need an adapter. You got to think about stuff like that. You know, at any given time, I've normally got 4 to 5 antennas in my car, even though I know that 99.9% of the time I'm going to use that Eagle One. But there is that 0.1% that I'm going to get somewhere and crap. I don't want to activate from the car. There ain't no place to go that's close to the parking lot. Dude wipes. You know, it happens. You know, you might need some dude wipes. But you know, you got to think about stuff like that. You know, if I get over 50 foot from the vehicle, I'm probably not using the Eagle One. Yeah, I've got enough coax and connectors. I could probably stretch out 150 foot of it, but I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably just going to throw up an infid somewhere or something like that. So, you know,
do the infid if you're going to be there a while too. So.
Absolutely. And what if you get into what if you go to a park and, you know, you've just got the Eagle One on a hitch mount, and on the fence it plainly tells you park boundaries right there. Park boundaries. Parking lot's not part of the boundaries. You and all of your equipment have to be in that park. That doesn't mean you can go in and your radio can go in and you're going to run your coax out to your Eagle One in that parking lot because it's not in the parking lot. So what do? I just pull out another antenna and I take it inside the park. So you got to think about extra stuff like that. You got to think about, you know, maybe having an Allen wrench or a wrench or something. Like stuff comes loose on antennas all the time. You know, you got to think about anything like that. So make sure that you're bringing enough stuff to prepare yourself. You know, I'm not telling you to bring out 2 radios to every activation, but I'm not telling you not to either. I know when I go to a park to do a QRP activation, and typically when I do a QRP activation, I'm hiking in. But you can guarantee that in the vehicle inside that park boundaries is my DX10 with 100 watts of power. So if I got 8 contacts and couldn't hear another soul on that 10, I can get back to that car and I can finish that pile up. So,
and on a personal what to bring, I mean, you know, dude wipes, but we're getting into that time of year. Bring plenty of water or whatever you like to drink, because You don't want to be out in the middle of a park with it blistering hot and you're sweating your arms off and you don't have any water or any kind of hydrate. Or bring some snacks, some water, something like that. So.
Absolutely. And in any type of the year, you should have something to drink with you, because if you get a pile up, your throat's going to go dry. I promise you.
Quick.
Especially if it lasts for any period of time. So make sure and bring something to drink at all times. You might want to bring a snack. You may be there a while. The way the band conditions are lately, I know PP Man did an activation the other day, and it took him an hour and 10 minutes, I think, to get 10 contacts. So, it's not guaranteed. And that's the next thing I wanted to step on was bad band conditions. That's right. 2 ends up being 1 is none. Bad band conditions happen. So, maybe it doesn't bother you to fail an activation. You may be that person that just don't bother. There's people, they don't care. They were just having fun and they got 5 contacts. They turned in 5 contacts. Make sure and turn in your 5 contacts if that's all you got. Because there's 500. There's 500s that want that part.
Yep.
So if you're man enough to call out CQ, and once you get 1 contact, you're committed. So either you turn in that 1 contact or you stay there till you get 10. And that's where the bad band conditions come in. You may want to prepare for bad band conditions. Sometimes, just taking out an antenna that'll only do 40 meters. 40 meters rocks in West Virginia. I can just do this whole activation on 40 meters. Well, guess what? 40 meters sucked that day. And I've only got 2 contacts. I got to turn in a log. What do? Just fail it? Take you out. Make sure have an extra antenna that'll do another band, or antenna that will do multiple bands. Make sure you have a way to do extra modes even. CW, FT8, that could save an activation. I've told the story before where I went into a park that was in a really shady area one time, and I couldn't spot myself. I couldn't do nothing, and that was back before I was as popular as I was. People didn't just know my voice and just start hunting me right off the bat. I hooked up and did FT8 and did like 13 contacts and left. Got the activation in. So make sure and be able to prepare for conditions like that, because you never know. And normally CW or FT8 will work even with sideband 8. So normally there are exceptions, like the last couple of days. CW has even been rough. Band conditions has been bad. So we getting any questions in here yet, Hayden?
I haven't seen any questions yet. More comments about how everybody does their activations.
Absolutely. And you got to do them. You got to do them the way you want to do them, and that's the most important thing. That's just like I was doing a CW activation the other day, and the band conditions was bad, and I had a guy twice on the spotting page actually spot on there. Widen your filter. I've called you 5 times. Well, you know what? I don't want to widen my filter. I want to keep my filter where it's at, because when I get a pile up, that's where it's set. So I can try to pick out a letter or 2 in that pile up. It's not set to where I can pick up all this extra noise and junk. I don't want to widen my filter. That's not how I activate CW. I'm a new CW guy. I don't want to hear a bunch of junk, but I struggle enough as it is. So, you gotta remember, let the activator do his activation. You can ask them to do something different for you. That's why, it gets me mad when people respot you like, this band's no good. Go to 15. Maybe I don't have a 15-meter antenna with me, and maybe this band's rocking. You even my hardcore hunters, they'll get in my Discord, and I love my Discord people, and I love my hardcore hunters, but they'll sit there and they will preach in Discord, that band's horrible. It sucks. It ain't working. Really? Because I've got a pile up right now. It's working. It might not be working for you, but it's working. So you gotta remember, the activator's got to make that call. You're not there with the activator.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you're on FT8, I mean, you're not relying on the hunter necessarily to come find you as you are on sideband or CW. There's plenty of other people on FT8 that'll answer your CQ. So
It's already out there.
Absolutely.
Already out there.
just
So
like uh, just like you got a big barrel just waiting on you to fish right there. So,
although when I do FT8, it never fails that I get the Pota pile up people real quick. They come in quick. So luckily I haven't had to do no FT8 in a long time.
Ed, a while back had a good. You were talking about different coax and connectors and everything like that. And he said, get a bunch of connectors at the next Hamfest because you can go in there with a $20 bill to a Hamfest and walk out with 2 handfuls of good connectors. They're cheap. You can get a lot of them.
Almost every Hamfest I'll go to, and I won't buy nothing, and I'll be getting ready to leave, and I'll be like, I didn't buy a thing. Let me go get some connectors, and I'll go buy some connectors because
Yep.
you never can have too many of them. You're always needing them for something or another. You're always needing something like that. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, pick you up 5 or 10, SO 239 barrel connectors so you can hook 2 pieces of coax together. Because no matter how many of them I have, I never have one when I need one. I probably have 20 of them, but I couldn't tell you where one of them is.
All right. So let's see what else did I want to touch on activating.
They are the 10 millimeter socket of the ham radio world.
That's
They're also easy to lose. I'll tell you what else is easy to lose that you're going to want to have plenty of is whatever you tie your stuff up with, whether it's night eyes or bongo ties or whatever, because we're activators and we get all fired up once we get to the park, and we're taking them off really quick and we're setting them down somewhere, and I'm really bad if I'm doing a Wolf River coils and I'm putting out the radials. Whatever I tied the radials up with, I'm bad to lay down in the grass. And I use night eyes a lot, and sometimes I'll use the wrong color of night eyes to do that. And the next thing I know, I'm looking everywhere in this grass for where'd my night eye go? So
I went out to my local park last weekend and I backed up to my normal spot and laying on the ground there with the bongo tie. And I'm like, oh, that's where that went.
absolutely. It happens. So you're going to want to have extra stuff like that. It sucks because you spend an hour to load the car, and you take out 3 things out of the car, and you're done. But it's that one time that you needed something, and you just drove. I do a lot of driving. What if I went to go do a twofer in Ohio, and I got all the way up there, and I realized that I took all my extra antennas out. All I've got is the Eagle One, and I forgot the jumper to go from my antenna tuner to my radio. That's gonna be a long ride home of me kicking myself.
And always leave it in there. I mean, us as ham radio operators by nature, we don't like to throw anything away, right? And it's always inevitable once you clean something out. Oh, I haven't used that in years. I'll throw it out. Just as soon as the trash man takes it away, you got a need for it that day. So.
Absolutely. And a good place to pick up all this stuff just next weekend. Not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after. Everybody's going to be in Dayton. So, if you're not going to Dayton, there's probably somebody in your local club that's going to Dayton. You need some connectors or something, give them a $20 and say, hey, pick me up some connectors. Pick me up this. I'm sure somebody will pick you something up over there for you. So, it's only the biggest ham fest of the year. So most people's going to be there. And speaking of that, Thursday night in Caesars Creek State Park, I will be doing a Patreon meetup. And yes, it is for the Patreons, but if anybody wants to show up and just meet me, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So make sure and I will gladly get you some connectors. You can send me some money, and the next time I see you, which will be in late July, you will get those connectors because I'm not filling out any cross the border form for you to send something to you. Stupid. Here, fill out this form because you're sending this guy a keychain. There was a keychain and a challenge coin that I sent I had to fill out a customs form over. I'm like, give me a break. It's plastic. It's not a bomb here, people. So there you go. When they work, that'd be a good thing. If you're going out into an island, it'd be great to have duplicate of everything you took because I would hate to get all the way out to the island and be missing something. I would also hate to get halfway out to the island and sink and lose 2 radio setups though. But yeah, you got to weigh them out there. So, but yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure there's going to be some Canadians coming down. We can get you some connectors there, James.
Well, if you sink on the boat, that means 1 is none and 2 is still none, right?
If you sink on the boat, I got a list of things I want to tell you was on there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, but that we're coming up on the top of the hour. So if anybody does have any questions, we'll gladly answer them right now. I can't believe the hour went this fast. There's a lot more that we can say about activating and hunting, but Molson is supposed to be coming to Dayton. I will believe that when I see it.
That's what I heard. Him and his wife are gonna come down to Dayton.
I'll believe it when I see it, but I hope he does. I've never got to meet Molson in person, so.
And remember, what was it last week? You were coming up. You wanted topics of what to do at Dayton.
Yes,
I would request an interview with Molson.
An interview with Molson. I wouldn't call it an interview, but there could definitely be a video with Molson.
Yeah, I would like it. I like Molson on the clubhouse. He's one of my favorites.
It'd be more of a comedic banter, maybe.
Yeah.
Banter.
It would be more of a shenanigans stream. Molson's a good guy. I like Molson. So I'm not seeing any questions. You seeing any questions?
Oh, there's one coming up right now. There it is. Is there a rule that you can't use a generator for a Pota activation?
Absolutely not. As long as that generator is in the boundaries with you and all your equipment, absolutely use it. I've done it before myself.
I would add that the only restriction on that would be probably the park that you're planning on activating.
Most parks, I guess where you're at in the park, maybe.
Most of your parks, it's allowed, but I couldn't take a generator into my home park.
Okay. Well, in West Virginia, we live in America, so absolutely
Yes.
you can
Yes.
you can use a generator in the park.
Here in the People's Republic of Maryland, we do not allow generators in the park.
So, if I need to send some troops to the People's Republic of Maryland to help you run a generator, we can make that happen.
I got the boat in the water. I can just flee.
But I've actually at Winterfield Day, not last year but the year before, we was in a Pota park, and we were running a generator. And when I was not doing field day for the club, I was doing activating for myself. So absolutely, you can use a generator. The only thing is you may want to have tested that generator to check to see if it's causing RFI in your radio, because some of them will cause extreme noise and some of them will be absolutely quiet. So you might want to definitely checked it out. Question: when you're activating, are you okay with quick small talk with hunters once in a while, or would you rather make it quick and to the point? Okay, if it's right before the late shift and during the late shift, you're going to aggravate the crap out of me trying to small talk with me. And if it's in the middle of a day, me doing an activation, I don't mind to talk to somebody, but you're going to have to be quick about making sure to get your question out because I'm really bad about. I'm a pattern guy and I'm efficient, so I'm really bad about saying you're 5'9" dunking in 1810 QRZ. So I talk to people all the time during the days, uh, during early activations and stuff like that. But if it's right before the late shift or during the late shift, anytime between 7 and 9 o'clock, I'm just busting out absolute contacts.
You
Now
got to make James laugh first.
that goes for me though. There are some
Yes.
activators, Duncan, that it doesn't matter if you were the first call of late shift and you're like, "Hey, Kurt, tell me a good joke, man." Kurt's going to break out he's probably going to break out his joke book and tell you 22 jokes. Then he's going to tell you where these jokes came from.
Where to buy the book.
And
Yeah.
and when I say Kurt, I'm talking about Kilo Bravo Niner, Juliet Quebec uniform, who will definitely be watching this video. So I'm not saying anything behind anybody's back because Kurt knows he is a rag chewing Pota activator. But no, I don't mind to have conversations with people. It's just now if your signal or the band conditions are bad and I can't understand what you're saying, I'm gonna say, "Yeah, buddy, I got you in the log. Thanks a lot." Or I've even been known I couldn't hear somebody else say, "If you have a question, send me an email." And I gladly answer email. Here's the thing with my email: I go down through there, and if there are questions, I try to look at them first. The logbook requests automatically get pushed back because I get 40 to 50 of those a day of people who don't know how to log from home or something, and I get a lot of those requests, and I do try to get to them eventually. You can ask the people in my Discord. I'll spend an hour answering questions sometimes, but I have to look each and every one of those up that you guys can look up as well. So I mean, it's a lot faster if you just look it up yourself, and or just if you don't want to log it, don't log it. I don't care if I get the confirmation in QRZ. It's in Pota. You're getting your Pota contact. But no, I don't mind to do a little bit of rag chewing, and now if I was doing a pre late shift and it's 15 till the new late shift and the pile up has died, and I'm calling QRZ, now talk to me as long as you want because I'm trying to waste time to get to that late shift because the lead 2 KCs up is trying to run me out of there, but before he talks to his buddy about him taking a crap the other day and it was gold. So,
and if you really want to rag chew with James or any of us, I'm going to give you a link for that. It's a magic link to a magical land called HRAG Discord.
that's
right. Rag chewing goes on all the time.
And if you want to get in on all the shenanigans, you should probably check out the Patreon because that's where I'm going right after the stream. We're going to our happy hour after dark video channel, and we're going to sit there and we're going to hang out probably half the night because that's what we do. And if you would like to check that out, Patreon is a paid service, but if you'd like to check it out for free, hit myself, Dan, or Hayden up, and we'll get you squared away into getting in, trying it out for free tonight. Other than that, Hayden, what you got coming up?
Got the boat in the water. If you haven't seen it, check out the live stream on my channel. It's pretty interesting. We're going to tidy up a few things on the boat. We're going to put a radio on there, and Saturday or Sunday, we're going to go try and activate Captain John Smith Water Trail.
Absolutely. That's awesome. All right, Dan, what about yourself?
Hunting Pota and working. Hayden got his boat in the water. If you haven't seen it, go check out his live stream. We had fun this morning, man. It was great.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was really cool.
But no, just Pota, man. Pota and working. Pota and working.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, I myself will be editing videos tomorrow morning and getting the Thursday video drop out. A video will drop out at 4 p.m. like every Thursday. After that, I'll be out doing Pota. And by the way, Hayden had a live stream this morning because he got his boat in the water. So you may want to check that out. But Patreons, I will catch you in the after chat. And if anybody else wants to check it out, shoot us a message and we'll get you squared away. Other than that, thanks everybody for the donations. I didn't see any coffee ones come in, but if they did, you know you'll get your shout out because that's what we do. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. 73.
Smash that like button.
Smash it.